back to the channel, guys. Today I'm giving my thoughts after 6 months with the Bolt EUV, so basically a 6-month review. And I'm just gonna do the 2 things I like the most, some general things that I've really enjoyed, and then what's to come in the future. So right off the bat, the best thing about this car is gonna be the same across all EVs, and that is not going to a gas station, coming home, and just plugging in. So there's a lot of talk about DC fast charging and this complication and that complication. If you know how to plug your cell phone in at night, then you can charge your car. Whether it's on a 240 outlet or a 120, you can find a way to do that. It's obviously easier if you have your own home and you have a 240 volt, but that is by far the best thing about this car. I don't have to stop off at the gas station. I don't have to make a trip before work to the gas station. I come home and I plug in. That's the best thing. The second thing that I've liked the most is one pedal driving. Most of my trips, I would say 99% of the time, I don't touch the brake until I come home and park in the garage and just touch it to keep them going. The other day, I did a quick stop when the light turned yellow before I had anticipated, and it's really only situations like that where I touch the brake. It's just comfortable, it's nice, you can see the regeneration coming back into the battery, so you're getting range back. Uphill, downhill is really nice with one pedal driving. And a lot of that will be standard across all EVs, like plugging in. One pedal driving will vary on how effective it is and how it's done EV to EV, but with the Chevy Bolt, it is done really well. Let's jump into the car now and we'll talk about some other things. Okay, so some quick negatives about the car. Obviously the DC fast charging. Max, it's at 53, I believe, just above 50. So knew that going into it. This would have been the perfect car if DC fast charging was a little faster. That being said, I did a 477 mile one-day trip. I stopped 3 times. It really wasn't that bad. Went up north, came back down. It would have been a full day of driving anyway, and those DC fast charging brakes were kind of nice. So that, I would say, is the biggest and maybe the only negative about the Bolt EUV. Overall, the positive, what I said earlier about coming home to charge and the one pedal driving, and then thirdly, everything that came with this car at the price point. Leather seating, seats are holding up well, they're comfortable. All the tech package, I have a video camera for my rear view mirror. We have 360 camera, front, back, sides. We have heated and ventilated seats. The back seats are heated. Everything that came with this car for the price point in an EV is great, and it's why I went with this car. Because my daily driving isn't super long distance, and even if it was an hour and a half, I'd still could get there and back in a charge. But what I use on a daily basis is inside the car, and it just came with so much and makes every drive comfortable and enjoyable. It even has a charger for my phone when I'm out for a long time. All of that came with this car at the 32, 33 price range, and that just made this car the best buy, in my opinion. Plus, it's a hatchback, so when I need it to, I drop the back seats and I have all that much more room in the back. So it's versatile. It's great for just your daily out and about, which is what it's used for the most. And in a pinch, if you have to, you can do a road trip in it. Would it be the ideal road tripping car? No. I mean, if you're going to use a car and you road trip, I would say even once a month, if you're going on long road trips once a month, I wouldn't get this car because of the DC fast charging. But you can't anyway, because unless you find one on a dealer lot or one that's already made, they are not making this car anymore. They are going in 2025 to be making the new Bolt EUV style version on the Ultium, which, if GM does things right, will hopefully charge faster and stay in this same price point. So now we'll talk about the future. I do not regret purchasing this car at all. It's been great, it drives great. Obviously, EV driving is a lot quieter, in my opinion, a lot smoother. So all of those should transfer into the next generation. And that's just general EV stuff. As far as for me in the future, would I get a GM EV again? And I'm actually leaning away because future GM EVs, Chevy EVs will not have CarPlay. Does not seem like they've got Ultium dialed in yet. Probably some production issues. They're already having trouble with the Chevy Blazer EV. Equinox was delayed. We'll see how that comes out. They've also changed the price points on them. So all of those are kind of pushing me away from any kind of Chevy EV. And I have to be honest, the Tesla Model Y is kind of the standard right now. So everything is compared to that. What you get for the Tesla Model Y at its price point and what you get with any other EV in that kind of range. So our next EV, if we get one, I want to replace our minivan at some point, and it's got to be our road tripping vehicle. So it's got to charge over 200 kilowatts and hopefully around 250. And when you look at the price points of vehicles, like even the Chevy Blazer EV, they're charging slower than a Tesla. They cost the same or more than a Tesla, and they're not as fast. They don't charge as fast, and they don't get as much range. So what do you do with that? You got to compare everything that you're getting EV wise with the price point. And I think Tesla Model Y is still on point, and they're going to refresh. So that's always going to be on the list. The Rivian R2 platform is coming out. So I'm really curious about the R2S, but that's not slated to come out till 2026. So I'm a little worried Rivian may fall behind on that. Kia and Hyundai, I think, have positioned themselves really great. I do think Kia is making a mistake by not bringing their EV5 to the US. I think that is a style that most people here would just snatch up. But honestly, what's next for us is, I told my wife the other day I took her van to go get gas on Christmas Eve while people were getting ready, just so we could be faster. I went to the gas station, I came back, and just driving the combustion engine and filling up with gas, I told her I wouldn't ever want to buy another ICE vehicle again. I want to stick with EVs. And she's driven this enough to totally understand where I'm coming from. Some negatives, obviously, I'd like a memory seat, and I would like a native garage door opener. I could live without the garage door opener. The memory seat is something that I've really missed. So if there are negatives, I would say DC fast charging, no memory seat. Everything else has really just been great. So just over 4,000 miles. We'll talk about just the range a little bit. So in the winter, it's been a little bit of a warmer winter than usual, but I'm still over my last nearly 600 miles getting 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour. So we can come over here, go to energy and details. In my last 108 miles, so since my last charge, I've been getting 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's with outside temperature not being great. Right now it's 1046.54. The last week it's been in the low 40s. The week prior to that it's been in the 30s. So temperature's been up and down, and I will say it's warmer than usual for this time of year, but still 30s to 50s. It does affect the battery, but still getting 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Typically around 3.9 in the cold. When it was even a little bit colder, it dropped a little more. Really efficient around town. You know, would still take it on a road trip. It would still be efficient. The cold does affect it, but not enough where it makes things a hassle right now in my area. I mean, if it was in the teens or sub-zero, it would be even less, but I'm getting a lot of mileage, more than I need, you know, on a daily basis. Because again, I come home and I plug in. So overall, this has been just a great experience over the last 6 months. There's no regrets in buying this vehicle. Would it have been nice if it was already a NACS port? Sure, absolutely. But it's about to get even better, because I've heard in February, GM vehicles will now get to use Tesla superchargers. Sorry, you know, for the slow charging speeds of this car, but I've looked at some routes I take, and there are some pretty big, lots of stalls, Tesla supercharger places along I-5 going north, where I don't see this as a problem as far as, you know, taking up a spot. But that just makes range anxiety for people with that option, you know, pretty much non-existent. I'll get an adapter and just plug in that NACS adapter onto the end of the Tesla charger. Actually, it would be a CCS adapter. And I'm ready to go at, you know, any charging station at that point come February, which will just make things even easier going forward for EVs. And me personally wouldn't plan on buying an EV in 2024. Buy them in 2025 if you're not going with Tesla. That way you've got native NACS and you're just ready to go. So if you don't mind using an adapter, then yeah, 2024 it is. I see 2025 as the year of EVs. More models, NACS native in most vehicles, and just going forward, I think EVs are going to take more and more market share, because this car at its price range does anything anyone would want it to do, plus all the bonuses of charging at home. I do think EVs are the future. The technology is changing, it's getting better. Seems like on a month-by-month basis. It's not going to be hydrogen. You can't fill up at home. And that is one of the biggest pluses of an EV. And there aren't enough hydrogen stations. In our little state, I'm seeing superchargers get put in everywhere. I think level 2 chargers should get put in everywhere. And once all that happens, it's going to be EV from there on out. People are going to get more and more comfortable with the technology. And for us personally, our next vehicle, I would never get ICE. I would get EV all the way. It's just been that enjoyable. Just over 4,000 miles after 6 months, really no regrets. I'll do more road trips this year. I'll have to travel up north more for soccer and things like that. So we'll film that. Hopefully it'll be after I'm able to charge at superchargers, and we'll test that out as well. So that's what's to come. If you're on the fence with an EV, just do your research. Make sure you know the range you can get, where you have fast charging if you road trip a lot. And it really isn't that difficult. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.